So Nisarg, what is comparative literature and why are we studying it?
From what I understood yesterday, basically comparative literature is an intersection between the various cultures and the study of the literature that is produced by them.
Okay, yeah, intersection. Comparative literature studies intersection between cultures, languages, and literatures, right? Comparative literature in itself is not an intersection of between cultures, though it is obviously, but it's a way of studying how multiple cultures come together or are different from each other, right? So it involves more than one language, culture, literature, and traditions, probably. So it involves more than one language, culture, literature. That is what comparative literature studies is, right? And if you look at most of the methodologies that are developed for study of literature, and if you go back to things like structuralism, new criticism, then or culture studies for that matter, all of them are monolingual in their orientation. They don't take on the board the fact that a culture never exists in isolation from other cultures. It's always interacts historically with other cultures. One language always historically interacts with other language, right? So if you look at all the, you know something about close reading method that is promoted by new criticism. Does anyone remember this? How many of you have studied something about new criticism in their third year or first year of MA, third year of BA? Does anyone know what new criticism is? Yes, no, maybe. न्यू क्रिटिसिज्म के बारे में कितने लोगों ने सुना है? Akshat, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Akshat, go ahead. And then who else? Yeah, Akshat, explain what is new criticism. What have you heard about it?
अब कितनों ने सुना है?
अच्छा, सिर्फ आपने सुना है?
हाँ, मतलब I don't exactly remember. मतलब I remember reading it. I remember reading the subject, but I don't exactly remember what new criticism as an umbrella term means. But जितना मुझे याद आ रहा है मैं उतना बता देता हूँ.
हाँ, बता.
ठीक है. So new criticism was about giving a new lens to study what has been created or written. जितना भी अभी पूरा जो इसके पहले जिस तरीके से चीजों को नहीं देखा गया था, मतलब एक पोस्ट, जैसे मेरे ख्याल से पोस्ट मॉडर्निज्म या स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म ये सब आएगा न्यू क्रिटिसिज्म में, इस तरीके. आई एम नॉट श्योर. नहीं आएगा क्या? तो फिर तो
न्यू क्रिटिसिज्म इज फार मोर स्पेसिफिक than what you are saying. It's not an umbrella term और बारिश भी नहीं हो रही अभी. Yeah, so let's go to Hita Dehini.
Sir, Hita here.
Yeah, Hita.
So my basic knowledge for new criticism states that while studying literature through the method of new criticism, we focus on just whatever it is written in literature, not any specific like who wrote it or when it was written. So we just focus on text and we focus on the very basics of text, like what are the connections between words. Are there any figures of speech, or are there any relation between the words and language? So we focus on that only particularly.
Right. So it is a focus on the text as an autonomous or an thing in itself, right? Text as an object. So the primary object of your study is neither the historical context which produced that text, nor is it the author and author's psyche or subjectivity that is to be studied, nor is it what happens to the reader, in what goes on in the mind of the reader. So text is considered as cut off from all these three axes, 3 points, 3 coordinates, right? One coordinate is text is connected to society and culture, history. That is not what is taken on board. It is connected to author, but that is also not connected. That is also not taken on the board. What is taken? A poem is studied as a poem. Novel is studied as a novel. Text is studied as just the text, right? It's not taken to be something else, or the document of society and culture. It's not taken to be an expression of author's soul, nor is it taken as something that is a product of readers or audience's consciousness. So words on the page, as Hetav said, right, is the focus of new criticism. Okay, who else? Dehini?
So I had a point similar to his. I mean, basically, new criticism, you study a text in isolation, bereft of its, as you said, history, culture, person who has written it, why was it written, or anything. Just the fact that this is a text and you study it in isolation, like you get out, you get rid of all the other characteristics.
Other characteristics.
No, characteristics.
So it studies text in isolation. Does anyone know who are the critics associated with it? New criticism. Anyone remembers? And why is it called new criticism?
I did it in my bachelor's, so I don't remember much, but it does have something to do with formalism also. I think whatever Hetav and Dehini shared so far, right? So formalists also believe in like the structural purpose of any text, right? So
Right.
it has
So
a lot
there is
to do with
similarity.
formalism.
It's one of the it's one of the formalist approaches, you can say. Very good. Dehini says Brooks. Yes. His name is what? Brooks is his surname. You're right.
So Cleanage.
Sir, I know.
Brooks. Hetav, yeah.
Sir, I know a couple of new critics. I mean, critics who are affiliated to new criticism. One was this Glenn Brooks, another was I.A. Richards, who started this movement in Cambridge University.
Okay. You're almost right, but not exactly right, Hetav. Reason being, I.A. Richards is primarily Cambridge School, which is a kind of precursor to criticism, right, in the beginning of 20th century. And his ideas and his methods were taken as probably one of the founding ideas of new criticism. And new criticism is a label that is given to a school of critics, right? A group of critics who share this assumption that we are talking about, that text is to be considered as an object, right, to be studied without any reference to the author or the reader or the society and culture in which the text is situated, right? So this was what sets it apart from the earlier schools like Romanticism, right? The Romantic approach was largely to look at literature as an expression of subjectivity. Subjectivity, right? You are right. Schorer's technique, art as technique as discovery. You studied technique as discovery, Nisar?
Yes, sir. It was in our fiction core.
Okay, right. So Mark Schorer used the ideas of new criticism largely in analysis of fiction, while most of them focused largely on poetry. And this school is largely American, right? So Cleanth Brooks John Crowe Ransom, one of the important theorists of new criticism, and then Wimsatt K. Wimsatt, then Monroe Beardsley, and Mark Schorer are among important. Alan Tate are important scholars associated with new criticism, and it was largely located in the south of American subcontinent, that is the North America, the American South, right? So the American South was largely agricultural society, and it had a history of slavery. So it's believed to be politically more conservative than the industrialized North. So the conflict between North America and South America ultimately led to the Civil War in the 19th century. But American South is understood as a more conservative space. And I don't know if you, those people who did their BA from here would remember To Kill a Mockingbird. You remember the novel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Akshat, Pooja, and others. This American South is associated with new criticism, and its precursors are I.A. Richards and T.S. Eliot, and then F.R. Lewis, another Cambridge scholar. But the emphasis of all these people, as I think Dharti said or Astha said, is that they are formalist in their approach, right? And formalism assumes that form is autonomous, right? Literature is primarily its form, and it is autonomous. Content is secondary in literature. So form is primary, right? And it's autonomous. And it goes back to Kant's idea of autonomy of art. So that is what formalism means. And the Russian branch of it is called Russian formalism. American branch is called new criticism, right? So what Akshat said is a confusion that you should not be having. That all new approaches are not called new criticism. In fact, new criticism is one of the old approaches to literature. And most of the literary criticism after new criticism is a critique of or a rejection of core ideas of new criticism. But if you look at their methodological approach, then they look at text as a single text. But their idea is that text obviously is an autonomous object, and it is primarily monolingual. Right? It's cut off from its social cultural context. It's cut off from what they call intentional fallacy. That is fallacy of looking for author's intention in the text. And examples that they give is the pudding test, right? So if you're served a pudding, or if you buy something in the restaurant, then you don't ask what is going on in the mind of the author of the dish, right? Or what is the subjectivity or gender or sexual orientation or caste of the cook. You just look at the pudding and judge how it is, how well it is made or not made. So that is their core assumption of intentional fallacy. And they also talk about affective fallacy. So Wimsatt K. Wimsatt and Monroe Beardsley wrote these two key essays: intentional fallacy and affective fallacy. So affective fallacy means you judge a text on basis on the impression it has on your mind, the subjectivity, the subjective response. मैंने वो फिल्म देखी, मुझे बहुत पसंद आई, इसलिए वो फिल्म अच्छी है, right? You get what I'm saying? आपको पसंद है इसका मतलब वो फिल्म अच्छी है, right? So this is affective fallacy, that if it moves you, then it is a good text. Now, problem with this is that what moves you may not move someone else. And again, it echoes of Kant here, that Kant says that criticism ought to be, or the judgment of his work of art has to be disinterested, right? And the art should be seen as something which is purposive without any purpose, right? Those who studied Kant with me in TY may remember. So this new criticism is the school in the beginning of 20th century up to 1950s, 60s, you find it kind of dominant paradigm of studying literature in I by mistake put it on the sleep anyway. So that is to also wake up some people who are asleep in the class. Okay, anyway. So new criticism is an American school which dominated pedagogy and academics till 1950 or 60. So it's not really new. Rest of literary theory and criticism is a kind of rejection of those ideas. But the overall frame of new criticism, Russian formalism, was largely monolingual. Right? They would not, because they think text is an end in itself, or text that criticism has its object as text, which is isolated from every kind of historical context. The question of comparative studies cannot come up, right? So it becomes a monolingual method of studying literature, largely Anglo-centric in terms of new criticism, and largely what should I say? Russian formalism, right? So up to 60s, study of literature was dominated by monolingualism. And then you find emergence of structuralism and post-structuralism and new historicism and deconstruction and queer LGBTQ approaches, and you find all sorts of movements, feminist movements, post-colonial studies. All of them seem to highlight the historical and political contexts of literary text. They tend to see literature as not being an isolated thing, right? So, however, in spite of all these developments, in English studies, we discussed that the framework for study of literature is primarily monolingual, largely Anglo-centric, right? That was the discussion we had in the first class. And in order to, but this is an illusion. This monolingualism of English studies is an illusion, because right from Plato, and Longinus, Horace, Plotinus, St. Augustine, Descartes, Kant, Hegel, Freud, all these are non-English thinkers. Yes, somebody wants to say something? Who said something? Anyone wants to say something? You can raise your hand. Okay. So that's the first lecture we had, that we discussed how English studies is deeply monolingual. It does not acknowledge the fact that a lot of its material is derived from non-English sources, right? Especially through translations and commentaries, right? You think Plato is an English critic, right? इंग्लिश क्रिटिसिज्म की शुरुआत प्लेटो से होने की क्या जरूरत है जब प्लेटो को इंग्लिश क्या है वही पता नहीं था, right? So you can see how English criticism appropriates Greek and classical paradigms and texts, right? We also saw that monolingual study of literature overlooks the fact that most of the important aspects of one literature, say for example English literature, whose history you have studied. Yes, no? You studied history of English literature? SYTY.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So entire history of English literature, there were moments in English literature where a lot of things were taken from other languages and cultures, starting with the so-called Renaissance, because Renaissance means the rebirth of classical Greek and Latin learning. So the term Renaissance itself implies rebirth of non-English cultures, right? The pagan cultures in Christian times. So this Renaissance itself is a European phenomena, not English phenomena only, right? And Shakespeare is heavily indebted to Greek classics and Latin texts and the local sources and so on, something that we discussed. So multilinguality is just mentioned, but its implications are not studied in while you study history of English literature. When you study Milton, right, why does he write the way he does can be understood in the context of Greek and Latin epics. Why is there invocation? Why do you show Satan flying through the night and so on and so forth, right? And why does he use blank verse and not rhymes? All these important aspects of Milton's epics can be understood only in the reference to the classical model of epic, right? Homeric simile. That are you studying Milton by any chance?
We
Paradise
did
Lost?
so last semester. Last.
So can you understand Milton without understanding Greek and Latin epics? Can you do that?
No.
Can you see Paradise Lost as only an English phenomenon? Is the question.
No, sir.
And not just that, Bible and the Genesis and those stories themselves are non-English in the sense that Christianity found in Middle East, the key languages were languages like Hebrew and Aramaic and many other languages in which the Hebrew Bible was composed. And then it was translated into Latin by the Roman translators like Saint Jerome and so-called Vulgate edition of Bible. And then later on, it was translated into English and other texts. So Christianity itself is constituted on translation. No translation, no Christianity. How does it sound to you? तो कहना है आपको ट्रांसलेशन नहीं होता तो क्रिश्चियनिटी भी नहीं होगी. And the theme and the characters and the story of Paradise Lost is biblical, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So basically, even if Milton is writing in English, there is a lot of material, lot of sources and histories of encounter of English with other languages and cultures, something that is not highlighted in our study of literature. So when I study how Milton deals with Vulgate Bible or Hebrew Bible, how does he use the classical form of epic following Virgil or Homer, then I am doing what is known as comparative literature. Is that clear? What is a comparative literature? क्या है? Instead of taking a monolingual view, I am taking multilingual view of literature and culture. That is called comparative literature. एक line में summary, historical multilingual view of literature instead of monolingual view of literature. So that is the simplest definition of comparative literature. Anything you have to say about this? कुछ समझ में आया नहीं आया? अगर ना आया हो तो पूछ लो. Okay. And the third thing that we discuss is why do we do it then? Why do you need a multilingual historical approach to study of literature? इसकी जरूरत क्या है? Can anyone explain me? Why do you need to have a multilingual, multicultural approach to the study of literature instead of monolingual one? इसकी जरूरत क्या बनी? Can anyone tell me?
Because even in a single culture, there can be multiple languages, and not everyone speaks the same language. The form of expression can change between languages for the same culture.
Okay, but yeah. But then, do you think that such kind of things happen in English literature?
Yes, because even English has various dialects and what do you call that, subcultures or something like that.
Right, but that is not our primary focus. We are interested in how English is interacting with, say, for example, French, Greek, Latin, Hebrew, Hindi. That is what we mean by multilingual historical approach to study of literature. I am not talking of dialects. Okay? Because dialects are not exactly languages, right? They are they come together to form one language. Question of dialect is complicated and controversial. Yeah. So why do you
continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you asked for English. That's why I was explaining the same thing before that. That different cultures can speak different languages. Even in the same culture, you can have multiple languages. Like the Central European region has Spanish, French, etc. languages. They don't. They have different literature in different languages.
Very good. So the monolingual approach cannot work over there, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the point, because even in single culture, as you rightly pointed out, there can be multiple languages that are spoken, right? And a single language approach cannot help in such a situation. Okay, what other reasons do you think we need comparative literature?
Sir, I think.
Please raise your
Akshat,
hand so that you can take turns instead of.
Akshat, you go ahead.
Okay, Akshat के बाद अक्षत यहाँ पे हैंड रेस बटन भी है.
अरे
इन केस आप नहाए नहीं हो तो.
नहाया तो मैं नहीं ही हूँ, पर मैं हैंड रेस करके देखो एक बार.
हैंड रेस करो.
दिखा गया.
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, बोलो. चलो. Why do we need comparative literature?
What I think is, when you're studying any particular piece of literature or art, it gives, first of all, it gives us multiple lenses to look at things, because every culture is developed through its own course. So if we look at something in a multilingual view, we are also looking at it through lenses of multiple cultures. अगर हम currently भी, for example, कोई text अगर आज लिखा गया है, और मान लो अगर हम ये माने कि वो एक हिंदी टेक्स्ट है, और अगर हिंदी टेक्स्ट को हम सिर्फ एक हिंदी या फिर एक हिंदी भाषी देश के तरीके से देखें, तो वो एक लिमिटिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हो जाएगा. पर अगर हम उसी टेक्स्ट को अगर हम उसी टेक्स्ट को, उसी पीस ऑफ आर्ट को किसी ब्राजीलियन या किसी यूरोपियन या किसी भी हिस्टोरिकल या किसी भी दूसरे कल्चर के नजरिए से देखेंगे, दैट विल गिव अस एन एंटायरली न्यू पर्सपेक्टिव अबाउट थिंग्स, which will also expand the horizon of literature and
are concerned only with the way of studying art, right? As a method and an approach of studying art, and a multilingual historical approach is called comparative literature, right? And as you said, the single language approach can be very limiting, right? Say for example, Hindi text. Say for example, you are studying the pet Hindi writer Premchand, right? So is there anything that multilinguality will help you with to understand Premchand? अगर आप प्रेमचंद को देखने का नजरिया मल्टीलिंगुअल लेते हो तो क्या कैसे समझोगे प्रेमचंद को? Have you read anything by Premchand? Anyone?
Pavan Godan.
गोदान पढ़ा है? और
I think to say. So Premchand very significantly and repeatedly talks about the class divide. और द इशू क्लास डिवाइड बहुत रेगुलरली देखा जा रहा है, जाति प्रथा बहुत रेगुलरली देखी जा रही है, औरतों के साथ जो व्यवहार हुआ है समाजों में वो बहुत रेगुलरली देखा जा रहा है. प्रेमचंद रिपीटेडली टॉक्स अबाउट दीज थिंग्स. नाउ व्हेन वी लुक एट दीज थिंग्स फ्रॉम अ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ, फॉर एग्जांपल, से एन अमेरिकन सिनेमा कंज्यूमर, just taking this for an instance, if we change the perspective from an Indian historical perspective to an American film consumerist perspective, we see that the relatability is still there, but he will connect to the text on a different level. He will see that the class divide is there, but the process of the division is different. The ways through which the class divide exists is entirely different. The process is not the same, but the consequences are the same. The oppression is still the same. सेम थिंग हैपेंस व्हेन, जब अलग अलग नजरिए से आप किसी भी चीज को देखेंगे तो आपको कनेक्ट फील होगा, क्योंकि ह्यूमन इमोशन तो वही है ना, बिहेवियर वही है. तो यू विल, it happens that you relate to it in a certain way, but you also find a different lens how things are happening around. The war which the caste divide which happens in Indian society, the ghettoization of Muslims in the city that we see. Now, ghettoization is happening in every country and every city around the world. It's not happening in the same way. So you might connect to the part where ghettoization is happening, but there's a different way in which this is happening. So that might expand the horizon of the study. Again, this is what I think. मैं फिर से हक दिया हूँ तो पता नहीं.
No, very good. Means now you can see that if you start looking at it with in comparison to American literature, you notice certain resemblances, right? And the resemblance is thematic. One important resemblance is thematic in terms of class divide and discrimination based on gender or caste. For caste, you may use the word race, for example. So the thematic similarity and thematic resemblance also shows you how Premchand is distinctive from American writing, right? So even if you are taking thematically similarity that you notice, but you also understand the distinctiveness of Premchand's writing from American literary perspective. So how does that help you to understand Premchand better, Akshat? If you notice these similarities and differences by comparing, right? How does that?
If I'm so I'll मैं थोड़ा सा example change कर, मतलब I'll change the example a bit. So I've been consuming international cinema since past 3-4 years now, and I feel connected to all of them. Although I haven't been to these countries, I haven't seen the making of these films, I don't even remember the names of the directors, I still feel a connect because I have felt the same sort of things happening around me. I'll take an example because I haven't lived in America, not an American citizen, तो मैं प्रेमचंद को उस नजरिए से देख नहीं सकता हूँ. पर जब मैंने पैरासाइट देखी, कोरियन फिल्म है, मैं उसको मैंने यहाँ के नजरिए से देखा. तो जब मेरे घर में कोई दलित आता है तो मेरी दादी जमीन पे बिठाती है. तो मैंने पैरासाइट देखी तो आई गॉट टू नो ये कल को खड़ा होकर मेरी दादी को तीर मार देगा, ये मार सकता है क्योंकि पिक्चर में उसने मारा. तो आई फेल्ट कि दिस हैज बीन हैपनिंग, the circumstance is happening now. I understand the case better because first of all I accept the oppression because it's happening universally. It also helps me understand how this mentality works in my country when it's happening around me, and how this text is, how the piece of art, I'm sorry I'm saying text, how the piece of art is relevant universally. It's not एक जगह तक limited नहीं है ना. तो जब मैंने वो चीज देखी, या फिर जब कोई इंसान, कोई बाहर का बोलना थोड़ा गलत हो गया, when someone not historically belonging to India, cool, when someone like that reads Premchand, translated or not, then they figure out कि oh, this has been happening there as well and here as well. They understand through relatability that यहाँ भी हमने देखा है, ये वहाँ भी हो रहा है. They get a deeper sense of the scenario, how it's happening, and hence they understand Premchand better because they have seen the same things. Now they're just looking at a different piece of art which is exhibiting the same thing.
Right.
Am I making sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you find that though thematically and in terms of content, Premchand stories which deal with discriminations, right, in the society that you have grown up, and as well as you find it parallelly happening in some other texts like the American or the Korean cinema that you find that also deals with similar themes of discrimination and the consequences of discrimination. And you then connect it to the society in which you are living. At your home, you have seen the discrimination happening. So you are able to make connections across multiple things, including your own life, right? When you take a broader perspective of literary studies, right? Instead of just looking at Premchand as a Hindi writer of the Hindi belt, you start looking at how certain aspects transcend the specific cultures, and what he's saying is also relatable to what is happening in America or Korea or at your home. So you discover another dimension of Premchand, which is not merely Hindi, right? And that helps you to then understand Premchand. What is it that makes him distinctive from, say, for example, American or what happens at home? Then how is this different from what other things of same themes that you have talked of? So in terms of comparative literature methodology, right, what Akshay has done is he has put two texts together, and this is called placing. In comparative literature, it is called placing. Parasite, Premchand. He has placed them together, and what has brought them together is called a ground of comparison. जिस जमीन पे उसने दो चीजें साथ में रखी है, and that ground of comparison is the theme of discrimination and the consequences. Racial and class discrimination, race, class, gender discrimination is the ground which has allowed him to bring two texts belonging to very different traditions together and place them together to illuminate each other as a कहते हैं, right? So what he has done is something that is not a newfangled thing. आप सब लोग यही करते हो, because one of the things that I discussed was comparison is a basic mode of knowing. It is not a special activity that you are doing, right? कोई हटके काम नहीं कर रहे हो, हम comparison by default करते ही रहते, right? So, but right now he has found grounds of comparison which transcend individual literature and text, which helps him to understand Premchand better, right? So it is called grounds of comparison, and in comparison, this is what you have to means. This is something that should be concretely understood. Comparison करते हो तो क्यों compare करते हो? ये बहुत important है. जैसे अक्षय was trying to वो कंपेयर इसलिए नहीं करना चाहता था कि उसे दिखाना था हाउ पैरासाइट इज बेटर देन प्रेमचंद. द रीजन, rationale for comparison, which is called grounds for comparison, is He's looking at the theme of race, caste discrimination and its consequences, violent consequences, maybe, right, of such discrimination. That is the rationale behind comparison. So you don't randomly, comparison is not done only to point out similarity and difference. ये ब्रह्म वाक्य सुन लो. Comparison is done in order to make a point, right? And that point may be you want to show how Premchand is actually indebted to certain American authors. There is a kind of influence, an idea that we are going to question later on Premchand, right? And you find that you are looking at the text in order to make 2 points. You are comparing not for the sake of comparison. आलू और गोभी कंपेयर करोगे तो कुछ सिमिलैरिटी और डिफरेंस दिखेगा ही, बराबर है? तो कंपैरिजन फॉर द सेक ऑफ कंपैरिजन नहीं होता, कंपैरिजन फॉर द सेक ऑफ सम रैशनल, रिसर्च रैशनल, जिसे हम ग्राउंड्स ऑफ कंपैरिजन भी कह सकते हैं, राइट? एंड द ग्राउंड्स ऑफ कंपैरिजन फॉर अक्षय वर themes of social discriminations and consequence. That is the theme. So he wants to look at how is this theme treated in Parasite and how is this theme treated in Premchand. And what is it that makes Premchand different from Parasite? That is also a research question. So if for comparison, you look at similarities and differences, but not for the sake of similarities and differences. Am I making some point? Is it clear? कैसे करते हैं comparative literature? Rationale क्या है? आप क्या साबित करना चाहते हैं compare करके, right? आप 4 फोन के मॉडल्स देखते हो और आपके पास कुछ parameters of comparison है. You are looking for say price within 20,000. You're looking for certain RAM and features. You're looking for certain kinds of whether it is 5G compatible or not. You're looking for some parameters and then taking a decision. Compare is never for the sake of comparison. Maybe you want to, you give priority of how that phone looks. Uska look kaisa hai? Can I show off this to my friends? So that also can be one of the parameters, right? So comparison, when you buy phones, you compare several models with some parameters in mind. It is never for the sake of showing X is different from Y. टमाटर और आलू अलग ही होंगे और सिमिलैरिटी और डिफरेंस होगा ही उसमें. तो सिमिलैरिटी और डिफरेंस आप क्यों बताना चाहते हो आलू और टमाटर के बीच? That is the most important question in comparative literature. Is that clear? Anything that you have to say about this conversation? सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है.
It's clear.
Yeah. So taking Tasneem's example here now is that she is talking of a novel called Karma Bhumi, but it cannot be understood without freedom struggle and colonial termination. But that is the historical context of it, Tasneem. So Karma Bhumi text समझने के लिए उसका historical context समझना तो जरूरी है ही, मगर how are you going to, why will you use Tasneem? Can you hear what I'm saying? Why would you use historical multilingual approach to study of Karma Bhumi? क्यों इस्तेमाल करोगे? कोई बताएगा मुझे? तस्नीम बताओ. Why would you use okay. Can anyone else wants to say something about this? I have not read Karma Bhumi, so I don't know. But say, for example, it is based on the theme of freedom struggle, right? Then, in order to understand it better, yeah, Astha, go ahead. Go ahead, Astha.
Yeah, sir. So I have not read Karma Bhumi, but since from the context, so we were not the only country which was colonized. So
Right.
we can, that is in common with other
Very good.
literatures.
Very good. So which were other countries that were colonized? Astha?
अरे आपने एकदम से सब्जेक्ट बदल के सवाल पूछ लिया ना, तो नर्वस हो गई ना जनता फिर।
मैं आस्था को पूछ रहा हूँ।
आस्था को तो पता होगा।
So, sir, I'm not sure because I'm not very good with that, but I don't know if we can call it exactly colonization, but we are familiar with so many African countries and right. So that is one thing, and I also think Latin American countries. But sir, I don't have accurate information on this.
They were also colonized, but not by British, right? They were colonized by Spain and Portugal. So they were French and Portuguese colonies. So you can compare, say, for example, how does a Latin American novel, right, deal with the freedom's anti-colonial struggle, and then compare it with Karma Bhumi, which deals with the same theme, right? So the ground of comparison is you want to see how a particular theme is worked out by individual authors and why is it different or same? What is it that is resembles and how is it different, right? And how do you think it will help you to understand Karma Bhumi better? By
By comparing how other people dealt with it,
right,
and how their situation looked like.
right, and how what is distinctive about Karma Bhumi, right, or freedom struggle as depicted in Karma Bhumi? How what makes it distinctive, right? And then you try to explain why is it different. What are the historical differences that create its distinctiveness? Yes, Somya.
So if I understand it right, when you're studying comparative literature, so basically there are three steps involved. So, in the first one, since till now we have been reading these texts with a basic knowledge that, okay, maybe I am not reading, I, at the back of my head, I may know that the text by Plato that I'm reading, it was not in English, but I was focused on the sameness till now, okay. So the first step is to, look beyond that.
Very
The
good.
second is to understand why am I looking beyond that. And then the third would be to get the distinctiveness out of it.
Right. So continuing with the what would be your what are you comparing, Somya, and what is your ground of comparison?
Yeah. So, like that would, let's take Akshat's example. If I take that example,
Plato
then
ही चालू रखना, Plato ही चालू रखना.
so I can't compare Plato with, I don't know, who do I compare it with?
वही यार पैरासाइट और प्रेमचंद वाली.
So I
पैरासाइट
don't
दवा लेनी पड़ेगी.
compare Plato.
So Plato, what? Just think about it further, na? You thought that this is Plato, and you looked at similarities, right? So now, what is your next step?
So first of all, I need to know the similarities with which text am I looking at. So
how will you find out those similarities?
I am not very sure about that. I need to think before I say.
Think. ऐसे तो नहीं देने पड़ रहे तेरे को सोचने के. Yes, Dehini. You can compare, but why do you want to compare? कंपेयर, मैं फिर से कह रहा हूं, कंपेयर सिर्फ कंपैरिजन के लिए नहीं करना होता है. आलू और टमाटर, कोई मकसद और मतलब से आप कंपेयर करते हो, पैरामीटर्स को लेके कंपेयर करते हो. देहिनी, व्हाई वुड यू कंपेयर एरिस्टोटल विद भरत? Soumya, you can tell me later, right? Once you think through it. So why would you compare Aristotle and Bharat, Dehini? For the sake of what? What's the reason, rationale?
I mean, when I first read about when I first read about Aristotle and his poetics and how he has talked about drama and everything, and then in the next semester we read about Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra, where we can see a lot of parallels between it, and we could also observe how Aristotle was influenced by his culture, and our culture was how Bharat Muni was influenced by that, and I could see the similarities and people of like how people have followed these things over the years, and some people have rejected it. Then we studied the whole history of drama in India, so all of this added up. It gave me a clear understanding because I had read Aristotle before.
Right? And this is Bharat Muni. And you notice that this is red and this is black, isko cap hai, isko cap nahi hai. You found out similarities and difference, right? But what is the point you are trying to make by comparing this? उसमें ये similarity और difference है तो सबको पता है ना. क्या पॉइंट आप साबित करना चाहते हो ये कंपैरिजन से, या ये कंपेयर करने के पीछे आपका मकसद क्या है? That is the question.
Sir, maybe we are not
one at a time. Maybe let's continue with Dehini first, and then and then I will go to Soumya.
Maybe, sir, Astha can go because I would need a little time to gather my thoughts. Then I'll answer. Okay.
Yeah, Astha, go ahead.
So maybe we are not looking for an answer per se, but just the study of it, like you said, that is why we are doing comparative literature. So when we analyze all this, we are enhancing our critical abilities and trying to at least cultivate some critical abilities. So I think that is the purpose and not really an answer. That's what I am trying to.
That is the trap.
That's what I understand.
That's a trap. तू जो बोल रही है ना वो ट्रैप है कि इसमें ये काला है और इसमें ये दोनों लिखने के लिए यूज होने वाला है. ये है ग्रीक पेन और ये है संस्कृत पेन. नाउ कंपेयरिंग सिमिलैरिटीज और डिफरेंसेस दिख रहे हैं, राइट? दे आर ऑब्वियस, बट द पॉइंट इज व्हाट इज इट दैट यू वांट, व्हाट इज द रीजन दैट यू आर लुकिंग फॉर सिमिलैरिटीज एंड डिफरेंसेस? सिमिलैरिटीज और डिफरेंसेस देखने के पीछे आपका क्या मकसद है? यस, somebody is saying something here. Theater and art. Tasneem, what do you mean by that? You have got to fix your mic, Tasneem. So what Tasneem is probably trying to say here, and I say it beyond what she has said, is that how the principles of art, how are they related to history? History and poetics के बीच में क्या रिश्ता है? That can be one of my research questions, right? Aesthetics और हिस्ट्री के बीच डिफरेंसेस क्या, रिलेशन क्या है? How, and here Astha, it's Plato did not read Aristotle, Aristotle did not read Plato. I'm sorry, very sorry. Aristotle did not read Bharat Muni and Bharat Muni did not read Aristotle. So the question of influence भी नहीं आता ना. You get what I'm saying? There is no question of influence because they don't know each other and they have not read each other's text. But even then there are similarities and differences, right? So I have to, my question would be, how does history create similarity and difference? I hope I am
Sir,
clear.
pata chal gaya.
Right. So my research question is about cultural history and poetics. How does history affect poetics? Is my research question. Does that make any sense? And so that is my ground of comparison. And you can see that you needed to struggle a bit to find research question. Yes, Astha, go ahead.
So maybe I'm just trying, I am not sure, but maybe what Akshat originally said, right? The human experience is same everywhere. So maybe that is the
Is it same
no,
everywhere?
like not
जैसे
exactly the same, but
प्यार अमेरिकन लोग जैसे प्यार को एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं और इंडियन करते हैं, वो सेम है?
but it can always be influenced with, you know, the culture, but there can be some similarities. The like bottom line can be that, you know, the
So
emotion
when you start accounting for why are there these similarities and differences, you are moving in research direction. The American expression of love, why is it different from Indian expression of love? Expression and experience of love. Why does it differ? And in spite of differences, why are there similarities? That is the research question. Is that clear, Astha? Just comparing American with Indian is not comparing. It is just observation.
yes.
Right? Yeah. Who wants to say something? Dehini.
Yes, sir. Yeah, when you explain, I got a little bit clarity of what my point could have been. So when I said that when I read Aristotle first, so reading, like knowing about Bharat Muni made a lot of more sense because of the simple fact. For example, when Aristotle said that there should be a limited plot, you know, itne scenes होने चाहिए, itne acts होने चाहिए and stuff like that. जैसे कि you have to use grand costumes, for example, I mean, etc., etc. So it made sense back then because the theater was so. When I learned about Bharat Muni, so he, you know, gave us certain points while describing the whole theory of theater, and it also made logical sense. How you sing along with it, and except I don't remember it exactly, but I could see that both of those people at a different time, maybe at a different location, faced a few problems while discussing theater or by forming it, and they came up with that theory. So while comparing that, I got to know that both of them must have faced something similar, and that's why I can say that there are some certain similarities. But the weather, the environment, the culture makes it different as well. So the influence that you were talking about, for example, the idea of love in America is maybe different from ours, is because how our culture, history, environment, and influence has developed over the years.
So that is your research, right? How history, environment, and culture affects expression of love and experience of love. That is the ground of comparison. I hope you get it. And as Ria rightly points out, can you say something, because you are saying exactly, you have understood it clearly what we are trying to say. Ria, can you unmute yourself and say this? Yeah, Ria. Okay, I don't know why she is not, but here she has written that she read a novel called Great Partition and a novel Trail to Pakistan. They were focusing on the theme of event of partition, right? So they were talking about same political event, not same political viewpoint. Yeah, same political event, but their understanding of this event differed because of culture and society. So socio-cultural aspects of partition affected the perception of partition. So her ground of comparison is, can anyone tell me what is her ground of comparison? She has some network issues. She is comparing novel The Great Partition or The Train to Pakistan. पर ground of partition, ground of comparison क्या है उसका? कोई बता पाएगा? Anyone can tell me what is the ground of comparison? Nisarg?
Sir, maybe how different people viewed the same political movement in different manners,
And
different
why?
viewpoints.
Why the point differed? ये रिसर्च क्वेश्चन है. अलग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है, ये तो ऑब्जर्वेशन है. ये काला है और ये लाल है, मगर क्यों अलग है? That is the ground of comparison. So what is that?
Sir, I have not read the Great Partition, but I have read The Train to Pakistan, and that novel is more about viewing partition from the eyes of normal people, like those who were living on the border. So, like, I have not read the other one, so I don't know how to compare or on what basis to compare both of these novels. But Train to Pakistan was more about humanistic approach and how like people were living together, but then this happened and then everything changed. So the Great Partition, I don't know, so I can't like comment on it.
So what is the basis of comparison? That Riya has already said it, इसलिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ.
So maybe the fact that both of them discuss, the theme of partition and all that, but how they have been expressed, differently. So the ground of comparison would then be the similarity in the theme of, dealing with partition. But how in different cultures it has been expressed differently, the same thing.
Not just how, Soumya, why? How is a very obvious question. How is this pen different
No,
from this?
I mean that is the why, right?
Why question?
I mean that is the why.
Why question? That is the question. That is called ground of comparison, not how question.
Yeah, but no, in this case, wouldn't that be the why? I mean, I am doing it just to see how they were, how the expression is different. So isn't that the why?
But is it that obvious? कोई भी दो चीज तो अलग होगी ना. Similarity और difference आलू और टमाटर के बीच में भी है. उसका फिर ये बताने के लिए कि आलू का कलर अलग है, टमाटर लाल है, ये तो कोई रिसर्च नहीं हुआ, ये तो ऑब्जर्वेशन हुआ.
Sir, maybe for others to know that a partition or something like partition should not be seen from only one perspective. If you look at all the perspectives together, then maybe your understanding would be slightly more objective.
Okay, that can be one. And secondly, that how differences of perception are shaped by social, historical, and individual contexts of the writers. Right? That is what you're also explaining why. And as you rightly pointed out, that event of such a magnitude, you have to take on board multiple perspectives in order to have more comprehensive understanding of the phenomena. Right? Very good. So what you have done in today's conversation, I have given you a research tool. है ना? तो इसके पर आप अपने MA के प्रोजेक्ट्स कर सकते हो, PhD के प्रोजेक्ट्स कर सकते हो, MPhil के प्रोजेक्ट्स कर सकते हो. आपको सिर्फ ग्राउंड ऑफ कंपैरिजन क्लियर होना चाहिए. क्या कहना है? ये सब अक्षत जो बात कर रहा है पैरासाइट और प्रेमचंद की कैन बी एन MA रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट. What Riya is talking about can be an MA project. right? And what Soumya is talking about can also be a research project. So research question जिसे कहते हैं research projects में वो grounds of comparison से जुड़े होते हैं, right? So clearer you are in terms of your research questions, more sound your research is. So your research question is, say for example, how does, say for example, a Punjabi novel on partition versus an Urdu novel of partition based by a writer based in Pakistan. You are comparing these two things to see how two different cultures saw that event, right? So that will enhance your understanding of partition, as Dehini said, right? तो ये तो आपको MPhil PhD के लिए research projects दे दिए मैंने. So now you have a tool. Now these are not बहुत नया या बहुत new fangled नहीं है ये. This is what people do in order to get knowledge, but I just sharpened it and laid it out as a tool, right? Okay, so that's comparative literature for you. So in last 10 minutes, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you the syllabus. So I want you to keep your syllabus in front of you. ग्रुप में रखा हुआ है. Ready? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is your paper on introduction to comparative studies and translation studies. You can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Unit 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, gives you an overview of the discipline in the West. How did it evolve? When did it evolve? What are the issues and problems of comparative literature? What is the disciplinary history of comparative literature? Right. So the first essay is by renowned comparative studies scholar and translation studies scholar Susan Basnett. What is comparative literature today? Which gives you an overview of the discipline. The second is Hon Sossi's essay, Exquisite Cadavers Stitched from Fresh Nightmares of Memes, Hives and Selfish Genes. And it is in the book called Comparative Literature in the Age of Globalization. And this book, Comparative Literature in the Age of Globalization, is ACLA report. ACLA is American Comparative Literature Association. And every 10 years, they take a stock of where is this discipline headed for and what has the ground it has covered, what are the challenges and what are the breakthroughs of the discipline, right? So this gives a kind of an update on comparative literature from 1990 to 2006. The third essay is by Todd Presner, Comparative Literature in the Age of Digital Humanities, right? Digital humanities is a discipline that has developed in past 4 decades in the West. In India, it's hardly showing up. So these 3 essays will give you a sense of comparative literature, कहाँ से आता है, क्या problems है उसके और कहाँ जा रहा है और वो क्या है. The second unit is methods and approaches. We'll talk about specific tools to do research, right? You can use this to frame your MA research projects, MPhil research projects, PhD research projects, and I do it even now because I've been researching comparative Indian literature from past 25 years. And I continue to use these tools, right? So first is comparative literature as interliterary theory. What does it mean? We'll talk about it. And second is comparing themes and images, something that Akshat did. The third is world literature and comparative literature. What do you mean by world literature and comparative literature? Fourth is inter-artistic comparisons, like again what Akshat did already, that he took a cinematic text film and he compared it with a novel. So it is inter-artistic comparison. तो वो कैसे करते हैं? Right? This explains how to do comparative literature. And we have recommended certain texts. Now there won't be any examination on this text, but you have to read this, and in your presentations you have to use this as examples. चलेगा? समझ में आ गया आपको क्या करना है? तो क्या क्या है? एंटन चेखव की कहानी है. वार्ड नंबर 6, सादत हसन मंटो टोबा टेक सिंह and Vishal Bharadwaj's film Haider. It won't be part of your examination, but it's part of your presentation. And even in examination answers, you can draw upon these examples, right? Okay, Unit 3 gives you an overview of discipline called translation studies, which we have just touched upon. But how do we go beyond the debates that we had, discussions that we had? So André Lefebvre, one of the founders of contemporary translation studies, essay comparative literature and translation studies. Second is translation studies, the emergence of discipline by Mary Snell Hornby. William Frawley, Prolegomena to theory of translation. Sherry Simon, taking gendered position in translation theory, talks about a feminist view of translation. And finally, Unit 4 talks about recent developments in translation studies. You have André Lefebvre's Mother Courage's Cucumbers, Text Systems and Refractions in Theory of Literature. Second is Susan Basnett and Harish Trivedi of Colonies, Cannibals and Vernaculars. The third is Luis Pere Gonzalez, who talks about multimodality in translation and interpretative studies. By multimodality, we mean various medias, like a game and a film and a novel. Right? Say, for example, there is a game made on a novel and a film. Then how can you compare across various media? And finally, Lance Hewson's introduction to translation criticism. How do we go about evaluating translations? Right? कैसे कौन सा translation अच्छा है बुरा है kind of thing. Recommended text for discussion is Ghalib's Ghazal number 11. सब कहा कुछ लाला उगुल में नुमाया हो गए. Right? And you will get it on this online anthology of translation. Columbia University पे उन्होंने ये सब गजलें रखी हुई है. You have to look at multiple translation of this one ghazal, but done by Ahmed Ali, W.S. Merwin, Adrian Rich, Agha Shahid Ali, Vijay Sheshadri. And then you also look at musical and audio-visual renditions of this ghazal, Sab Kaha Kuch Lala Aur Gul. And very famous renditions are Begum Akhtar ka hai, Ghalib ke Kalam, Talat Mahmood and Mukesh, The Genius of Mirza Ghalib, and Jagjit Singh from Mirza Ghalib TV series. So this is your syllabus. कुछ कहना है, जानना है आपको? Any questions, queries about the syllabus?
Sir, no queries about the syllabus, but I just wanted to make sure I got my point clear. So after you're done with this, I can.
Yeah. So once we are done with the syllabus thing, we'll take up Soumya's point that she has raised. किसी का कुछ कहना है syllabus के बारे में? तो आप क्या करोगे? You will tell me by presentation. अच्छा, why presentation? किसी को जानना है क्यों? Well, you know, this is good that you raised this. After your post-graduation, whichever profession you go into, you may go into teaching line, right? You may go into soft skill development or content writing. You may go into journalism. You may go into any line. you may become anything, right, related to English. You will be expected to make formal or informal presentations. So presentation is an opportunity for you to develop yourself in terms of presentation, right? How to present certain things, how to handle questions, how to ask questions, right? How to deal with questions. So what we usually, many times people do is that they don't read anything when they come for presentation. अगर मैंने निसर्ग को बोला है presentation करो तो बाकी कोई पढ़ के नहीं आएगा, right? मेरा थोड़ा ही problem है. So they lose out on opportunity how to understand somebody's presentation and ask questions, right? और एग्जाम के टाइम पे अगर वो देखते हैं, so suppose Nisarg makes a presentation, so do you think Nisarg it will help you at the time of examination?
Yes, sir.
How will it help you?
Because if I have to present, then I have to prepare extensively, because if people can ask me questions, then I should be able to answer them.
So presentation के लिए जो आप preparation करते हो और exam के लिए करते हो उसमें फर्क है, right? Preparation for presentation is done far more thoroughly because you have to understand and then deliver that, right?
Yes, yes.
Challenge. So, and it helps you in exams, right? Or it doesn't?
It does, it does.
So the intention behind having presentation is to develop your presentation skills, because MA, right, is very often a kind of ground that prepares you for research. So that, and one important aspect of research is not just doing research, but also presenting research in a written form or in the oral form, or both. Right. Even if you go to corporates, you will be asked to make presentations. So presentation skills are important part of education, but they are not prescribed in the syllabus. Secondly, when you prepare for presentation, you have better understanding of the content, right? Which will help you in the time of examination, right? And you know what? मैं आपको अगर मुझे समझाना है ना तो 15 दिन में ये मैं सिलेबस खत्म कर सकता हूँ. 15 क्लासेस भी नहीं लगेंगे. पर एसेज को डिकोड कॉम्प्रिहेंड कैसे करना है ये आपको सीखना है, राइट? फिर प्रेजेंट कैसे करना है ये भी आपको सीखना है, मुझे नहीं सीखना. You get what I'm saying? So the idea behind presentation is this, and this is where it separates from undergrad. And one of the conversations we did not have last year, but I always have last year in the first semester, is why is MA Sem 1 different from BA Sem 6, right? Why is it not 4th year of BA? That is the conversation I have. But given the kind of time that we had on our hands, which was very, very less, we could not do it the way we are supposed to be doing it. Structuralism ka unit, right? So this is what is reflected in the question. So what I do is, because MA Sem 1 is not 4th year of BA, we change gears. No more spoon feeding. I hope you get it. Amount of spoon feeding is reduced and amount of self-study is increased in MA, because you are preparing yourself for your future competence. You are developing your competency, right? And it, like in exercise, I won't develop strength if you exercise for me. है ना? निसर, मैं तेरे लिए कसरत करूँ तो मेरी स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ेगी या तेरी बढ़ेगी?
सही बात है सर.
So that is the reason why at MA we raise the load and make it more challenging. So when you, there are two ways to look at weight, and this is a very weighty syllabus. How many of you found this syllabus as extremely heavy? बहुत भारी है. जैसे कितने लोगों को लगा फर्स्ट ईयर?
Yes.
अब Khadija is honest. That's why she says, right? Others may or may not be that honest. But how many of you thought this is too much for our platter? Raise your hands. Right. Right. Even I find this is too much for me. Right. But the thing is that there are two ways of looking at weight. भार को देखने के दो नजरिए. One is that of a coolie. Coolie lifts up your baggage, right? भार है. तो वो कैसे देखता है कि ये भार है, उठा के जाना पड़ेगा तो ही मुझे रोटी मिलेगी, तो ही मैं उठा पाऊँ, तो ही मैं खाना खा पाऊंगा ना. That is one way. You are surviving weight. That weight is pulling you down. The other way of looking at same weight, say for example 40 kgs, a coolie will say this is too heavy, but a weightlifter will have a different perspective about the weight. What would be weightlifter's perspective? Khadija?
Yeah, yes, sir. Can you please repeat?
My question is, there are two ways of looking at weight. Weight, 40 किलो का वजन. एक कूली का नजरिया
Yes, sir.
जो कहता है अगर मैं ये नहीं उठाऊंगा तो शाम को खाना नहीं मिलेगा मुझे.
Yes.
दूसरा नजरिया है वेट लिफ्टर का. वेट लिफ्टर का नजरिया क्या रहता है?
Okay, so he will think that इतना मेहनत करके it will make him even stronger and contribute to his overall health and fitness.
वेट वही है, नजरिया अलग है. आप लोग कौन सा नजरिया रखते हैं?
Yes, sir.
कूली का या वेट लिफ्टर का?
सर हमारा नजरिया तो ये है कि इवन दो द कोर्स इज लेंदी बट टाइम भी कम हो जाता है तो उस वजह से वो बहुत ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है.
तो डिफिकल्टी लेवल की बात कर रहा हूं.
मतलब मेरा है, हाँ, सबका नहीं, मेरा.
चैलेंजेस ज्यादा है, टाइम कम है, ज्यादा है, राइट? टाइम कम है. ये जो कॉन्वर्सेशन है इज अबाउट अ चैलेंज, राइट? इतना सारा इतने कम टाइम में कैसे हैंडल करें, राइट? सो अगेन अ कूली इन हरी एंड अ वेट लिफ्टर इन हरी. मगर डिफरेंस क्या होगा? सो आर यू अ कूली इन हरी और अ वेट लिफ्टर इन हरी? And what difference do you think perspective makes, point of view makes? निसर्ग क्या करता है पता है? निसर्ग ये उसको पूरी खाने की डिश दो ना तो उसमें से पिक एंड चूज करके खाता है, यही मुझे अच्छा लगता है. नाउ द प्रॉब्लम इज, अगर आप किसी डॉक्टर के पास जाते हो निसर्ग, और वो कहेगा आपको अरे यार आई वॉज नॉट रियली इंटरेस्टेड इन फीवर, आई वॉज इंटरेस्टेड इन अल्सर्स, राइट? मेरा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है उसमें. निसर्ग तो मैंने ना सिर्फ
sir, what? You can't compare something basic to something specific.
I didn't get your point. What?
Well, fever is a basic illness and ulcer is a specific study.
But he says I am interested in ulcer. Fever के साथ मुझे कुछ लेना देना नहीं है.
I study the basic. We did study basics in BA, but in MA, I believe we should only be focusing on the things that we're interested in.
No. A doctor or an engineer, right? And engineers of MSU were castigated. They had their jobs were taken away at times. ऐसे कहा जाता है क्योंकि there was an explosion in the boiler and they said that they had left it in syllabus. मैंने पढ़ा नहीं था क्योंकि मुझे मजा नहीं आ रहा था. नीम हकीम खतरे जान. इसका नीम हकीम बनना है तेरे को या ठीक ठाक हकीम बनना है? बताओ।
ठीक ठाक।
पूरा हकीम बनना है या नीम हकीम बनना है? एक पायलट पायलट ऊपर उड़ा देता है और वो बाद में कहता है नीचे उतारना मैंने नहीं सीखा, मुझे इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं था नीचे उतारने में। So you are not coming here to be half baked, are you? And one of the things conversation that I always stress in first year semester is that you have to learn things which bore you, because you are developing an expertise. You are not going into garden to enjoy flowers, you are going to garden to study botany. But your attitude, Nisarg, is like that of a layman who is interested in flowers. Your attitude is not that of an expert developing himself or herself. But you know what? Thanks for saying that, because many of you are in the same boat as Nisarg and Khadija are. How many of you can relate to Khadija and Nisarg? What they say? Raise your hands. सच सच बता दो, सच का सामना। You cannot relate to what Nisarg is saying or Khadija is saying?
सब सेम बोर्ड पे है सर। सिंटेक्स में फर्स्ट सेम में कितना बवाल हुआ था।
अरे पर वो सिंटेक्स था। So sir, what I relate to sir, I relate to Khadija to certain extent, but I love this course. But the sad part is that I'm not able to study this course as I want to. Or online classes में it's not the feeling of a college. That is what my problem is. And also, एकदम sir, how do you want us to study criticism जिसमें हम एक दिन में एक ऐसे complete कर लेते हैं? And I mean, I'm not criticizing the education system or something like that. It's everyone's problem. But
so what I suggest, Dein, is that whoever is teaching you one essay in one day, you can ask questions and difficulties that you faced in the next class so as to continue the conversation, right? Thing is that you have to bring your difficulties in. It's not about days. It's how much you are able to say, अरे हाँ मुझे ये सर प्लीज समझाइए और मैंने ये पढ़ा. You may ask others to help you in the class. So you have to find ways of perpetuating conversations by bringing by not keeping difficulties to yourself. That's my suggestion. I don't know if it may work or not work in your context, because I am not sure of what exactly you are pointing at. But this is just a suggestion. Try that out. Right? Okay. So we are stopping here for today. And in the group, you will let me know which are the essays that you are selecting for presentations. Done? So that on next Thursday, we'll start with the first essay. Done?
Okay.
So let me know in the
Yes,
group.
sir. Okay.
And in the other group, I found that many of you have made selected your essays, but some essays are left. So those people who have not made their selections, please indicate your selections as well. So do it by Monday, all of you. All of you have syllabus, right?
Okay.
And material as
well. Okay, sir.
Okay, so have a nice day. Please take care. Get yourself vaccinated on the first opportunity. I know it's difficult. It's to get it, but keep trying, because that is about our life. And take all the precautions, because even if the cases have declined, the virus has not yet retired. The pandemic has not yet become endemic, right? in medical terminology. So please take all the precautions. And see you next week. And I'm keeping most of these lectures online, so you may have discovered 2 classes. So I will put the link as well, right? To the lectures that I've kept online. So if you have missed